even though no one's probably gonna watch, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, they watch afterwards. And
Oh
besides,
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
just
I did see. I
yeah,
did see
yeah,
like someone commented.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. We're just playing around anyway. We're
Yeah. Well, we're gonna try Zoom. Uh,
gonna try Zoom too.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday. Let's do
because
that.
I was thinking it's a good idea for Zareen to interview some of the authors of the book list on her website. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that will be really insightful. So we're gonna try to work that out.
That would be pretty cool. Um, See, during the pandemic, I did a series. It was just on Zoom. I didn't do it on YouTube.
Mm.
Did I? But it was just talking to various, enlightenment teachers around the planet. I talked to Swami Vishrant from Australia, and a
Mm.
guy, Eric Putanen, who's on YouTube, and Jeff Career and stuff. That was kind of cool.
Vishran,
So,
he's is that someone who was also like with you with
he was
your
a
teacher?
sannyasin too, but I never knew him back then.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. But he was a sannyasin too, so he's got some really interesting stories, and he's
yeah.
fun to watch.
I
Yeah.
always like people with accents.
Yes.
The message always just like
Hey,
is
we have
received better.
accents. We just
I
have really
know,
boring accents.
I know. I mean, that's the thing. Can you hear a Canadian accent in my voice? By the way,
No, I
not at
don't
all.
think so. Aren't
Oh,
you supposed to always go, "A"?
so do I not do that?
I don't know. I haven't noticed.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it pops out, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, dude, I have a tendency of just like matching other people's accents like, or whatever.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so like I just always do. It's probably just from like people pleasing. So
Or maybe you just around so many different accents
oh my
ever
god,
since you
in
were
Canada,
little. Yeah?
wow, everyone. I mean, that's
Yeah?
the thing. Like, we're just not in tribes anymore,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Mhm.
it's such a unique time. I'm in such a
Yes.
unique society because there is just a bunch of different uh like cultures, different ways of speaking, and I'm around all of it. Like I went to school with Indians, whites, Asians, Arabs, blacks, all of it.
That
And
is
it's
so
like
cool.
all of them speak differently. So when people hear there's like a famous celebrity Drake, right? And
Mhm.
he always speaks in different accents, right?
Oh,
And people
yeah.
are like, "What's wrong with him? Why does he keep doing that?" But that's very normal for Canadians because
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah, like we were always just we have a bunch of different accents. That's just our way of speaking. It's weird
Yeah.
because it yeah, but like it makes sense if we were just in one tribe, one way of speaking. Yeah, you would just have that one way.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't you think it's kind of like the stair step towards the awakening that we need to have happen for, to become sustainable people again?
Well, yeah, it's I think integration is important because I mean it really it uncovers the whole veil of in group out group perceptions, right? Like
Mhm.
there's us and there's them, right? So integrating with each other is awesome, right? I can also see I mean you can call it a stair step in itself, but because of this people can become even more confused about who they are, right?
Exactly. I
So
was just going to say that
yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because they're just like, like I mean, even I had it, right? Where I'm just like, is this me like just people pleasing all the time? Is this me, like, who am I doing this for? And why do I speak in so many different things? Like, why am I all over the place? But I look at, you know, someone in like Louisiana and it's just like they just speak one way, right?
Right.
So I'm
In
just like,
my small Idaho town, it's just like white up and down, and
that's so
Idaho, yeah.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and attitudes closed. Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
when and where in history did we have an actual multicultural society to this extent?
I don't think ever.
No, because like even you look at
Yeah.
it, like if an Ethiopian went to Arabia 1400 years ago, they would basically become Arab culturally, right?
Right.
Like, but here it's yeah, like I mean, you're not really becoming anything like different. Like that's not a requirement in Canada because like it's really about freedom and freedom to choose, freedom to practice whatever you like.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. But see, that's kind of what, I've been talking about in my non-duality and native wisdom sort of things too, is that when you're a person in a tribe and you have ancestors that, like you've known, like your grandparents, and you can like see the thread of your ancestors like goes back, then you have a
Yeah,
sense of self, of who you are
it's
that's
easy.
blended with your ancestors, and that's so important because we're not individual little molecules.
Yeah.
Like, you are a result of your parents and your society and where you came from, and me too, but
Yes.
then what non-duality has to add to it is that there is a solid self that you can actually access that isn't tribal based.
Yes. Yes.
But simply knowing who you are is just the key to everything. Because what you are is like that simple, right? You are you. I am me. And we get pull, I don't know. That's a good question. How did we lose track of who we are?
Mm.
You
That
know?
that that's something you mentioned in other videos as well. Like that
Right.
when and where and when did this process occur, which is also like I mean even me. I mean I don't think I'm anywhere close to like awakening or anything, but I
Now,
would still
I
say
disagree with that.
really. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's
Everybody's
right
right
there.
there. Yeah.
It is. Sorry. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like it can happen. Okay, I understand what you mean.
Right,
I do
right.
because it's like in a weird way, like we're already ourselves. It's just
Yes.
do you see it or not? Is it recognized? Right.
Can you firmly be that and go, "Ah, I'm me." And
Mm,
that's all we're looking for in non-duality.
yes.
And but this is the trick and the problem is that me that you are, that you are, you can't describe it with words because it's
Yeah.
just who you are,
Yeah.
right? So just
Yes.
feel that for a second, who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ye-
I'm not gonna lie. I can sometimes get like panic attacks just by
Yeah,
like, dude. Like I can get like so close,
yeah.
and I'm like, what's here? I don't know. Right.
Well,
Like I like
yeah.
it's.
I know. It's because, and this is the thing. If I can get this figured out, then maybe I can just really help people touch that really quickly because all the stories that we've been told has made that panic attack thing like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to look at that.
So I have
Shame. You were
lots of
calling it shame.
there's shame. So I mean, what do a lot of fundamentalist religions teach? Like shame, right? Like I mean, it's like it's there, right? Like you try to do good through shame, try to be good through shame. Um, that's
And
like,
one up each other through shame.
oh my god, competition. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just level one.
Yeah. So I met with this Sufi sheikh.
Oh, you met him.
My white guy, suburban Sufi sheikh guy,
I love
and
it.
I was so what I wanted to do was ask him because they do all these retreats, and I go do dances of universal peace retreats, and I'm like, you guys should bring me into your retreats. But I don't have enough money to go around to their stupid retreats. And man, he was brutal to me.
No
First
way.
of Oh, way. First of all, he mansplained to me that
Nice.
I that I need to speak slower and look more spiritual. And then the whole conversation was every single thing I tried to say, he just told me something about himself and him, and how smart he was and everything that he had and everything that he was, until finally a little way into the conversation, I'm just like, I need to escape this. And so I just started to encouraging him to talk about himself, talk about himself, talk about himself. And then at the very end, I got to throw in a couple little things about me. And he went, "Oh, really?" And then, we left. But it was really a process of shaming me, like, so
Wow.
much, because I was thinking about that because you had said that before. And so I was kind of noticing it, and I was just like, whoa, did I just get put in my place or what?
Wow, that is so interesting.
It is, and of
'Cause
course, as a woman, I get that all the time, smile more, don't be so shrill, don't talk so fast, you just don't look
yeah.
spiritual enough.
Dude, it's like yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought like this whole becoming real was about becoming real and not focusing on concepts and other fake stuff. But it's like, you see like the hyper engagement in it still. Like that's weird to me. Like
Yeah, the
it I
hierarchy and just, and, face it, just a lot of fear in him to look at something differently because he's got his whole track set in. So, and I do
yeah.
not fit well into the track, so it would be stepping way out, you know, to bring me
Yeah.
in. So I understand that. But so like so here's an example of a story. Do you know the story? It's in the Bible and it's the prodigal son. So there's the son of the rich man, and he leaves and he goes away and lives a life of debauchery or whatever he does.
Mm,
But then he comes back and he's accepted with love with his father. It's like come back. And so the story is usually defined as saying, God always accepts you back.
mhm,
The other day, I realized that's not what the story's about at all. The story says that if you've ever tasted wealth and possessions, you can't ever get away and be free. You're
mm,
gonna come crawling back,
mm,
right? Yeah, so there's all these subtle little stories that we're taught means one thing, but there's that shame and that uh, uh, you
yeah.
know, you can't be free.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can't.
and
Yeah.
again, it's interesting because shame is a social emotion, right?
Yes.
But it's
Mhm.
something felt alone and internally, right? It's
Yeah.
basically an internalization of another person's perception of ourselves,
Right.
which is negative,
Or our
right?
perception of their perception of
Which it really just is, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
which is like the whole internalization part, right?
Uh-huh.
Where it's like,
Right.
it's like absorbing someone's whole perception, right?
Mhm.
And you're putting that on yourself, right? Because again, shame is different from guilt because shame again is a perception, one's perception of themselves, which is like I think the most simplest way to put it is shame is about guilt is I made a mistake, shame is I am a mistake, right?
Yes. Yes,
Right.
yes.
And so, and where does that idea come from? Other people, right? I am a mistake is, I mean, no baby wakes up. No, again, you can almost say shame is unique to the human experience because no other organism in life has this idea that I am a mistake, right? I don't belong, at least from what I know, right? So even the capacity to adopt that, I mean, you want to talk about hell. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely that, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like I mean
Yeah.
cuz like you're not even getting punished by like another agent. You are the agent punishing yourself. You hate
Yeah.
yourself.
But I think, what if it's more of a byproduct? Because I think,
Mhm.
that human beings used to not have the capacity to feel shame
I don't
because,
think yes, yes, yes.
like a native person, like, go way, 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 way back into your
Yes.
history, like, way.
Yeah.
way, way, way back before, I mean, 9,000, 10,000. Just think how short
Oh, for
civilization is.
sure.
And
I
100,000 years, human beings have been walking around, but feeling so connected, literally with everything, that you
mhm.
couldn't feel like
Yes.
you don't belong. And
Well,
shame, that feeling of shame is actually should be just a temporary thing that means, oh, I've stepped out of the flow.
yes.
But you always have guides to help you come back into the flow, your
Yes.
elders and your right?
Yeah, that's why
So
you want me to like just theorize or hypothesize. I would say that shame uh was probably like first felt probably like only like 3,000 years ago at most.
yeah, 3, 4,000 years ago, I think you're probably right,
Yeah, like
but it
sorry, go on.
requires that it requires when you're very young to have some sort of a break with reality. So here's a story, I don't think I've told you this. So I remember the very first time the veil dropped over my face. You've heard of the Sufi and the, um Buddhist teachings about the veil, that you're trying to lift the veil. And
Mhm.
so I was like about 1.5, 2 years old, little, tiny little girl. And my mom dressed me up in this really pretty little outfit. I think
Mm.
I had a little bow in my hair. And I remember I had these pretty brand new white shoes, and I just learned how to walk. You know how when you walk, you can see your shoes, you
Mm.
know, when they're brand new?
Mhm.
And so the thing was is that she had a friend that had a little girl my same age, and they wanted us to get together and play because they thought that would be so cute. These two cute little girls could get together and play. And so I dressed up, and then we went over to her house, and they opened the door, and we walked in, and there was the little girl sitting there with her mom. And she looks at me, and just this look of just rage came over her face. And she runs at me and goes, "I hate you." And boom, she pushed me over. Little kids do that to each other all the time, right?
Mhm.
And I just remember the veil just dropping down because it just didn't make any sense. Is I like just this gray veil just dropped. And so that was my first split with reality. So, why did that happen? And it was because my mom had lied to me. She told me that if I dress up in this pretty little dress, I'll be accepted and loved. But instead, I was hated and pushed over,
Mhm.
right? And so it was just this disconnect. My little 2-year-old brain couldn't sort it out. And so my belief is that the worst thing we can do with a child is lie to them. No matter what it is, do not lie to a child. And just think about way, way back indigenous people, they never would have lied to their children. Why would they lie? There would be nothing to lie about. There would be no fundamental thing like that to lie
Mhm.
about. Right? And then just
Mhm.
think about so many of other girls who got put in a pretty dress and did get the love. Then they were imprinted with always wear a pretty dress, always wear a pretty dress, right?
Mhm.
Explains girls.
Well, wow. Oh my God, that's so good. That is
Yeah.
such a good story. And even that, it's like, again, when I was saying, "Oh, I sometimes get close to panic attacks with that." Well, what's going
Mhm.
on there? What's going on? An expectation, right? And where did that expectation come from? Obviously, hey, this leads to that, a story or a lie or whatever, right? There's
You've
an
been told a
expectation.
lie. Remember that thing that you sent me about some non-duality person who said, "Oh, it's this horrible whatever
Yeah,
thing."
yeah,
You've
yeah,
been told that lie so many times
yeah,
that it's like this that we're supposed to be coming enlightened, but it's like this horrible,
yeah,
grueling state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's so
But
okay. See, that's the thing. I was gonna mention as well. It's like so okay, what's going on with yourself when you were 2 years old, right? It's false conditioning, you can almost call it, right? It's like
right.
conditioning that doesn't really work, conditioning that doesn't. I mean, it's lying, right?
It's
You're
lying, it doesn't meet reality. Now, my mom didn't know any better.
yeah,
She was like a little 20-year-old girl who'd been taught that her whole life, right?
yes,
It's
yeah.
not like she did something to me on purpose.
And I'm sure it was probably the intention there was just, to make you happy, to feel accepted, to feel loved, right, when you put it on, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, it still there is the coloring of reality, that just isn't the real colors that reality shows, right? So I
Right.
think,
Oh,
you know,
they were trying to teach me that I am my clothes.
oh,
That
interesting.
whatever.
Yes. Okay. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Right.
the identification with that which you put on, and without it, and what it brings when it is there, and what you are without it. What you are
Like
with, and
you
what you
are
are
your
without it.
money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you need
Exactly.
to like make lots of money in order to be a real person,
Wow. Yes.
right? Yeah.
So
But
I
so
was gonna
now who are you
sorry, go on.
underneath all of that? Because you're a
All of
very
that. Yes.
you are that 2-year-old little boy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that wasn't the only thing that ever happened to me. That was just the first one. And I can remember the veil going down. And then the whole rest of your life is trying to piece reality together underneath this veil.
Uh-huh.
Instead
Uh-huh.
of like a native child would always be shown, look, there's the sun coming up. Over there is where we go to get, you know, berries. And, they would just every single thing about life would have been a real life community thing, with you and your aunties and your uncles and and fitting in. You would never, ever not, what was it, the way that you said it, not belong.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's why you also have there could so we can't escape conditioning, and that's something we were talking about last
You can't
conversation, right?
completely, but you can
You
find out
can't.
who you are underneath it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like we are I mean, life itself is conditioning, right? So you can't
Right.
really put a generalization of the concept of conditioning, of the activity of conditioning, and say, "Oh, this is bad." Well, no, because as you can see in indigenous cultures, there is conditioning that is actually beneficial, that does work. I mean, this conversation
Yes.
right here is conditioning. People who are
Right.
watching it, this is
Right.
also conditioning, right?
Yeah.
But it's not conditioning alone that describes what and who we are, is the point.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Because,
we're more than just the conditioning itself. Like,
or maybe
there's the part.
less.
Oh, hold on.
Underneath all the conditioning, you're kind of like a nothing. You're an
Yeah,
open uh, book that nothing's
yeah.
been written on. So
It's
that
like yeah.
that
Hmm.
nothing is what we're looking to find.
Yeah, like
It,
to steal J. Krishnamurti's words, it's like there's a part of us that is untouched by all this conditioning stuff. So it's nothing.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you can access that part of yourself, then you can start, you know, looking at the conditions and going, what's useful, what's not useful, what's
Yeah.
useful. Lots of it's useful.
Hmm. Of
Like be
course.
nice to people and
Yeah, yeah,
and get a job and make some money, you got to
yeah,
do
yeah,
it, and
yeah,
take care of your kids and pay attention to the environment. I mean, all of this is conditioning, but we're intelligent and we have the ability to see what's useful and what's not
yeah.
useful. And
Wow.
that's why the enlightenment people and me always say you're always awake underneath anyway. There's that
Yes.
spark of you in there that just knows this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so our goal is just to bring that kind of to the forefront, or
Yeah.
that's the ground of being out of which you are living your life.
Wow.
That's what we're the natural human there.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, so I was wanting to say this even earlier, but like I still have a lot of like religious conditioning,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And like even though like bro, like I can just look at so much of it and be like, this is so not like no part of me even like it's I mean like just like my logical brain just doesn't, at all. But then there's like those parts that are just like I don't know, just still haven't fully grasped the whole picture of it being nonsensical, and it's like it it wants its like certainty. It's like again, like even me talking about it, it's like yeah, I'm engaging with these illusions, which is like just what's the motivation behind that? So I feel like does a lot of it need to be psychologically and logically understood before any engagement with the self. Like, I mean, again, like I'm just so confused with all of it still.
Do you have to sort through it all before you find out who you are? It's like, no, because it's who you are that's sorting through it all.
Hmm.
It's the actual you that's actually sorting through all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's
and
still
so a
like
lot
yeah,
of it
there's still
is
that duality.
trust. Yeah. So much of it is trust. When you know who you are, then you can trust yourself.
Wow,
And
that
we're
that
back to
helps
the
so much.
shame.
Yeah, it's
You've been
crazy.
told not to ever trust yourself, right?
Oh no, no, don't do that.
Yeah, like what if I would have turned around and hit that girl? Right? There would have been a totally different outcome to that scenario. It might have been way worse. It might have been more authentic, but instead I ran and hid,
Mm,
so I don't know. So, and then conditioning's like, okay, one of the favorite Native American people I like to watch is a Navajo. His name's Wally, and he talks about the old um, the important things. What did he call it? The rules or something like that. So one rule is you never stand in the doorway. And that's because someone may need to be coming in and out. And especially think when you're in a really small house. You just People walk in, you tend to just want to stand in the doorway. So you have to be taught to never stand in the doorway. And
mm,
so it's really funny ever since I learned that, everywhere I go, people are standing in the doorway and nobody can get in and they stop there and they just talk,
mm.
you know? Yeah. And I'm like, get out of the doorway.
That's good.
Right? So I got a new conditioning, but I chose to have it because it's useful. So when
Yeah.
I walk in a place now, I don't stand in the doorway. I make sure I
Mm.
go all the way in
Yes.
and get someplace where I'm not going to be
Yes. Yes.
in everybody's way, right? Yeah. So a lot of things are very, very useful, but you have to know why. And so what's really interesting about this guy Wally, he didn't just say this is the rule, which is so
Mm,
much of our religious. He said, "This is the rule and this is why." And so you're like, "Oh, well, that makes sense."
mhm. Yeah,
And
that's why it's like I still love and will always love science, most likely. Like it's
yes,
just
uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
there's the explanations, right? It's not. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the scientific method, and just it's really not there to prove. I mean, you look at a journal article, and it's really just examination, right? I mean,
Mhm,
that's like
mhm,
that's our purpose. It's
mhm.
examine, right?
The
Whatever we
proof
find
thing
we find.
kinda the proof thing happened for a while, but scientists have gotten over it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
my
yeah,
son is a physicist, and he explained to me, he said, "There used to be laws, and now we don't make any laws."
yeah,
Like the law of gravity, right?
yeah.
He says, "No, everything's now a theory
Yes,
because
yes, yes,
because it
exactly.
could
It's
get
just a
blown
theory.
away."
Yes, that's so
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, you
Yeah.
you said your whole family is scientists.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember you said that. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
that's
good.
probably like fun to be around as sometimes too. Then.
Yeah. If ever I wanna know anything, I have somebody I can go ask.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've got biologists and mathematicians and historians and physicists.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because the world is so vast, one person can't. We can each only know our little piece, and then what matters is how do we put it? How do we put it together to come up
Yeah.
with, the sustainable whole of how
Yeah.
we need to live? It's just too complex, and I think one of the problems we have with this conditioned mind is that the conditioned mind wants to make it very simple so that you don't get in trouble. Right.
Ooh, that's a good
So,
one.
like, okay, back to my little 2-year-old self, right? It's like the veil went down because I'm like, I don't know how to not get in trouble.
Mm,
I I thought I knew how to not get in trouble, and now all of a sudden, it didn't work. Now what do I do? Right? But so much of it is don't get in trouble, don't get in trouble. And that's why,
yes.
you feel that, "Ugh, you know, I can't
Yes.
possibly find out who I am because then what if I get in trouble?" Although I got to warn you that if you do know who you are, you're going to get in trouble really a lot.
Why is that?
Hence my Sufi shake.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, you're saying in trouble by the people who don't know who they are?
Yes,
Okay.
because the goal of everybody is to keep everybody else clamped down. People
Mhm.
don't want free people running around.
Oh, no.
It's
Well, yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you gotta be bold. And so there's one thing that's always been about me is that if ever somebody says to me, "You can't do that," I'm like, watch me. You know?
Mhm,
Yeah. Or if
mhm.
anybody says you have to have courage in order to do that, I'm like, okay, I'm going.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So you gotta kind of have that wildness
Mm.
about you. And that's one of the things I love about Jason Yunkapura, the sand talk guy,
Yes,
is
yes.
what he talks about, and he says it was like 9,000 years ago when people started becoming domesticated. And that's
Wow.
kind of what we're talking about, that process of domestication. Like,
Mhm.
you can't be free. You cannot just leave the prodigal son. You have to come back. And
Yeah.
we'll accept you in when you come back if you go astray. And your religious conditionings probably have a lot to do with that. How to be good, how to
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go
A lot of it.
astray. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. It's, what I mean, how does one I don't even wanna say the word counter, but how does one
I think
relate
counter's a
and
good word. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
how does one deal with it and counter it or
Yeah.
relate to it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, well, since you have a logical mind, and you like science anyway,
Yeah.
I would kind of go at it from that
So that yeah,
direction.
yeah, that's what's been helping the most. Like,
Mhm.
for sure, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, there's still like I mean, if you want to, our last conversation when we were talking about meat, right?
Mhm.
And like Krishnamurti saying, "I just can't do it," right? Like I mean, that's conditioning, right?
Mhm.
Makes sense. And you know, what would what would it take for him to think differently if somehow another perspective made more sense, was more useful, right? How could he get there, right? Would it take things like courage? Would it take things like a discipline? How does one go outside of such deep conditioning?
It kind of seems that, well, yeah, a lot of the conditioning is, I mean, there's too much of it to get all the way through it. But the big trick is to find out, who is underneath all this
Yeah,
conditioning.
yeah.
Um, but You've had revelations before, right? Where all of a sudden you're just,
Yeah.
and you realize something. Like, especially like somebody's been lying to you and
Yeah.
you're all of a sudden, oh shit, no wonder nothing
Yeah.
was adding up and making sense because this person was lying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, it's the puzzle pieces coming together when and it's
Yeah.
really just the recognition of self.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just, I'll be honest with you, maybe I've just been caught up in a bunch of the spiritual traditions teachings, which, can be definitely harmful, right? Because it's setting up a lot of expectations. And, you're also thinking the descriptions are the thing. And it's just like, it's trash in many ways. But,
Mhm.
there's like, I mean, there's just moments like even, experiences in meditation, let's say, right? And, it just feels like it's like when I'm experiencing whatever it is, the descriptions that I've learned on the internet, right, and through these spiritual traditions, it's like, whoa, this is like a lot. This is like a it feels like a lot. And
Mhm.
maybe that's where like the panicky stuff starts, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
But
why non-duality is so interesting because it says throw it all away, right? But you can have that panic because there really is quite a bit of it that's useful. I mean, you could like just um run down the street and start hitting people, because you're wanting to throw all your conditionings away.
yeah,
That's not going to come out well.
yeah, yeah,
So some of your conditionings are really really good. So it's confusion. What do I throw away and what do I
yes,
not throw away? Right?
mm,
And so but what non-duality is really really trying to show is that there is a 0 point. It's not even a 0 point that people can access. And then from that 0 point, that non dual state, then you're living life authentically
okay,
and real. And what's really interesting about it is that zero, the idea of nothing, isn't a natural um, idea for the human brain to grasp.
yeah, yeah.
It
I
was the
loved your
Muslim
series on.
world. It was
Yeah,
the
sorry, go on.
Muslim world that brought the idea of zero to the Western world. They brought algebra and
Yeah,
and the idea of it came from spiritual people, like all the authentic Sufi sheiks
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
back then, and they were trying to
Yes.
describe what is this place of nothingness that you can come from. Like here, like what's the sound of one hand clapping, right?
Yes.
So that used to be very, very mysterious.
Yes.
Nobody used to be able to explain it. But you and I were taught the idea of zero and the idea of nothing when we were in kindergarten.
Mhm.
It's not a surprise to us. What's the sound of one hand clapping? Nothing. That's the actual answer to that cone that
Yes. I'm not
people.
gonna lie, one of my favorite series that you have done was like the Zero series. I don't know if
Yes.
but that
Yes.
was great. So
Yes.
good, right?
Yeah.
Because as long as you're saying zero, I mean it's not zero, right?
Right.
Like so
But you
you
can blow your mind in a second. Like, just stop right now and what's zero? What's nothing? It just
yeah.
stops you immediately, right? Okay,
Dude, yeah.
now do it
Okay, go on.
again. Now do it again and go, what's nothing? Now who's looking at that nothing?
Mm. Yeah, I might have OCD. I don't know,
Yeah.
there's too many thoughts.
Okay, here, let's get rid of the thoughts. So what's
Okay.
something that um you like to play ball? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like baseball. What ball do
Yeah.
you like? Yeah,
Yeah.
baseball,
No, I was just playing basketball.
basketball. Okay,
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to close your eyes and
All right,
try
you guys gonna
to,
watch me become enlightened. Sorry.
yes,
Go on.
close your eyes, and inside your head, I want you to find an actual basketball, not a thought of a basketball, but an actual basketball.
Can't.
Who's looking? There's no basketball in there, right?
No.
No. Now step back into yourself. Who's looking for the basketball? That's you.
Mm-hmm.
You just won't believe that it's that easy.
Dude. Oh my God. Yeah. I guess I'm still seeing so much duality too.
Too, yeah.
There's too many dualities.
But remember, you could be looking for two basketballs. Non-duality doesn't mean that there's not multiple things in the world. It
Yeah.
only means that there's just one you. All your projections aren't you. That's all it means. You are the one looking for the basketball inside your head.
Yeah. Wow. It's feels like too much sometimes though.
Yeah.
Like I feel it like, and then it's just like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
play around with that a little bit and see what you come up
Mm,
with.
yeah, but like
Yeah, because
even when
there's only one you.
but when I see it for a second,
Yeah.
it's like I retreat. I just come out because of just like,
Oh, okay. So yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Swami Vishrant has a really good story
okay, please.
about when he Vishrant. Remember we talked about him
Yeah.
before, a little ago from Australia. He said that when he saw it the first time, it scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, what do you call it? Aggressive and bold and a warrior. And so he
Yeah.
stepped right into
Australian.
it.
He
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. He stepped right into it. So as you play around with it a little bit, it's like, yeah, you know, grab that, grab that. It's going to be a different experience for everybody, but he just stepped right into it.
You want to know what my religious conditioned mind says?
Yeah.
Oh, if I step into it, I'm going to hell. I'll be
Yes.
transported to. It's like, okay, and this is why
Yes.
science. This is where science can be helpful.
Mhm.
Understand how human beings make meaning out of things. If we understand just the process of how we even generate meaning, it's like really awkward. It's a very awkward process, right? Where there's the mechanisms involved in meaning making are like it's how do I put this simply without saying the whole thing? Okay, so information comes from like our sense organs, right?
Mhm.
Like obviously.
Mhm.
And that information is being interpreted, right? Like
Right.
always. Like so we don't really have information that is like raw. Like in a weird way, every single time
Exactly.
it comes
Yes.
into us like we're only taking what we're conceiving, right?
We're not really seeing light through our eyeballs.
No.
It's just things are hitting little
Yes.
globules in there, right?
Yes. So it's
Yeah.
just like I mean that's just one stage where information is getting messed up. Okay,
Right.
now you have things like the actual form like the formation of the concept, and then
Mhm.
that's another, and then you have memory, right?
Right.
And memory itself is so flawed too, so there's just so many distortions in all of
Yes.
it. So
Yes.
even when I'm saying like any fear, any expectation, right? uh Again, we're not trying to the goal is never to get rid of conditioning, but it's just to examine like, okay, what is actually true, and like where did I even form this idea, and just understanding how. human beings make meaning, I think is like a
Mhm.
good way to kind of just see like all the useless conditioning, right? So
Yes. Uh-huh.
again, I agree with you. If me, anyone else, is dealing with like a lot of unuseful conditioning that is maybe causing like fears when they see a glimpse of themselves or something, right? I think
Mhm.
I think yeah, science can help, but like there has to be like an easier way. Like I mean, right? Because like
Right.
I mean, we can't all just like become scholars and psychologists as well.
Well, because we're at a situation right now where we need to drop a whole lot of conditionings really quick and change the way that we do things massively globally. So,
Yeah,
yeah, well, of course, wouldn't science say all we need is the right drug?
maybe, and maybe maybe that is the case. Like I'm not even like what if there is a drug that they'll invent one day where it's just the enlightenment pill, and then
Yeah,
it just
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Well, we back in the 60s, we thought that was LSD, so
Oh, for real? Okay, there you go. That's good. That's good. But I just took that in. That's actually really good. That's
it
so
didn't
funny.
work it didn't work for anybody.
Yeah, yeah. I
But,
mean, yeah.
I think you're really right, though, is that there is we were systematically put into our conditionings, right? So you'd think we
Of
could
course.
systematically unravel them as well.
I think that's what Krishnamurti was trying to do.
I think that's what he was talking about.
So that's why he's been of most help for me. Like
Mhm.
when it comes to not even just like useless like religious conditioning, but even social, political, cultural. Right? It's
Mhm.
like just understanding you're not your culture even. Like you're really not that. And it's just like
Mhm.
if you can identify, okay, hold up, I'm not the language I speak. I mean, at what point do you find something that is you in your conditioning, right? Like all of it is like just
Well, the ultimate revelation is that you're nothing and everything.
and everything. Yeah,
Because nothing and everything. So you are all your conditionings
you are.
as well.
Yes,
Yes.
which it makes so
So
much sense. But the thing is, it's in movement. It's not a static thing. It's a something that is like you are seeing the change. You are the one that is experiencing the movement. Like you are the movement,
and
which makes
hopefully you're the master of it and not
holy
the
shit.
victim of it.
You
And that's
yeah
that's what Hazrat Inayat Khan taught is to be, and that's what Osho taught too, self-mastery. That
yeah
once you know who you are, then you can be the master of this insane, you know, body of conditionings and expectations and everything
yes.
that happens to you, right?
Oh my
And
god, yeah.
that's
Wow.
what we need. That's what we need in order for humanity to step into the next stage. We need to all be masters of ourselves so that we're not just like sucked into um, frivolous stuff. Like, when so many of these new age teachings, and I go around to a lot of different things, is people are just trying to make their ego more comfortable to live with,
Me included
yeah,
sometimes.
and they're like literally um, opiate of the masses, right? They're just trying to calm them. They know that there's a big problem
Yeah.
in society. They don't
Yeah.
know what to do about it. And so instead of jumping in with that courage that I'm telling you to have, right? They just kind of drift back under the veil and try to make the veil more beautiful to live with.
Yeah, it's so fake.
It's so fake. Remember my story about the girl I saw her false face drop?
Yeah,
Well,
dude.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Just when she was
it's
falling asleep, she woke up and she put it back on, and there she was in all her false majesty.
wow. I mean, it's so interesting how American culture, like
American.
Canadian American culture, like it's so interesting how unique we are psychologically. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like I mean, again, I don't like I haven't really lived in any other society, obviously, right? But like, so it's hard for me to compare. But like, this just sounds so unique. Like, just a lot of
Yes.
costume playing, like a lot. Like I,
Tons of false identity. Yeah. Why do you think that Donald Trump is so popular? He helps people solidify their false identity and
mm,
find their tribe.
mm,
Yeah.
their tribe,
Yeah.
yes,
And then look at all the false gurus who, I mean, some of them are like real gurus too, but then people start coming to them and then they create this tribal feeling and everything, and people just want that because we're so empty in ourselves. We feel like we don't belong.
yeah. We need
Yeah.
someone else's help and guidance, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll. I mean, I do it all the time too, but like
Yeah.
it's like I can see again like how illusory though it is conceptually and practically. It's just
Mhm.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
just being able to see it is like a huge leap forward. It kind of puts you in a state of like existential confusion pretty
yeah.
regularly, I'm sure, though, right? Yeah, because like, which thing do I follow?
Uh, and
Like which thought?
I mean, it used to. I mean, I just there's a lot of just this is gonna sound whack, but there's just a lot of faith that look like love just like exists, right? Like that's just like a thing that exists.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like just because that exists, it's just it's easy for me to have faith in good
Right.
and that this
Yeah.
is all just cool. It's
Things
all
just,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like even like I so existentially, I believe in the existence of love, man. So it's cool.
And humanity, like, good humanity. Humanity in a good way, that there is like this thing,
Well,
the
that's
most
what love
useful
is.
thing. Yes. And you gotta love humanity if you wanna love yourself. You can't hate humanity and
Yep.
think that everyone has to die in order to solve the planet. The thing
Yeah.
that I've read lately that I think's the best way to describe it is that we didn't evolve in the trees. I think we were talking about this last
Yes,
time.
yes, yes.
The trees created us because the trees needed us. And
Mm,
then the grasslands needed us and called us out to help because, they needed hands and they needed hands were needed and brains were needed and care was needed. And so we're needed. Human beings are needed on this planet. We belong.
mm,
So, you got to have that, that down to earth belonging right there in order to have the courage to step in and see who you are. So, yeah, you won't go to hell.
I mean, yo, if hell makes most sense to say it is the experience of shame. If we
Yeah.
really want, just this whole sense of belonging versus not belonging, hell is
Mhm.
definitely not belonging. I mean, like even like
Yes. Mhm.
I mean, I always thought of hell even just more metaphorically, anyways, right? Like, but
Mhm.
it's I mean, it just makes most sense to say, the lowest thing someone can experience is self-hatred, self-contempt, aversion, you know,
Life
not
aversion, aversion
life
to life
aversion.
itself.
Like there, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
mean, you
that
were even
is,
talking
yeah,
about how people go towards non-duality because like they want to commit some kind of suicide.
mental suicide. They're hoping that they can kill the thing in them that's awake
So
and
that it
and
like
hurting.
that is hell. Like I mean,
Yes.
there's literally again because like I mean, you have like a realm of existence that like you're just like that's it, right? Because you just want to like game over, right?
Mhm. Right.
Like you
Yeah.
are the devil causing, like metaphorically, right? Like it's like
Yeah, yeah.
that's what it is.
Right. Right. Because we're never ever told that if you come awake, it's gonna be better. If you
Yes,
come
yes,
awake if you come awake, then you are more thoroughly entwined with all of reality,
and
and
that's all we want.
you become a participating human being rather than a consumer.
I love that,
Yeah.
and we feel good as participants. Like
Yes,
like you don't
opposite of shame.
in the you can even see this like almost just even with like minuscule like activities as well, right? Where
Right.
you know just the act of giving back. Let's say when you pass a test, a quiz, right? And all your other classmates are just like they didn't do it yet. Like it kind of feels good to be like, let me help you, right? Like and like see
Y
them awake, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I got it. Like the watch the light bulb switch on for them, right?
Yes,
There's
yes,
in being a participant in that, it that's human, right? Like I don't know, we
yes.
have that,
And
but I
you just know that that's real, right? Like you're walking down the street and somebody's got a bunch of things and you open the door for them
yes,
and they go in, right? Or you're walking down the street and you see a little trash, you pick it up and
yeah,
you throw it away. Or, I mean, just so many little things. You go to the store and you're like, what should I buy? And you choose, and you do a little research and you choose the one that's, you know, the better one.
yeah, yeah,
All these
exactly,
little ways. Or you see somebody and, you just make a little joke and make them smile.
yeah.
There's so many things. I remember one time I was really depressed and I'm like driving somewhere. And I'm driving and this car passes me and there was this little girl in the back seat. And she's looking out the window and she's just like this huge smile. And I look over and I'm just like, crack. The
Oh,
all the sadness just went away. Boom.
oh,
That girl, and then boom, she drove away. I never saw her again. Who knows where she is or who she was, right? But that moment just like boom transformed my being just right there. So there's so many ways we can participate, and when we're doing it kind of in an awake joyful way, we're like just spreading this wave, Yeah.
it feels
And
good.
that feels
Yeah.
good. That's not hell, that's heaven.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, you reminded me of something I wanted to ask. So, like, I've never had superstitious tendencies, right?
Mhm.
Where
Oh,
it's
we all
just like,
do, but yeah.
yeah. So I just like, what do you think of this whole? I don't know. What are your perspectives on guru talks and I mean, all the different concepts and things like Vedic things. I don't know if you want to get into that like at all, right? Because I mean, even talking about it, I can see how it's just like not even helpful. But
Well, yeah, yeah, no, it's like every single one of them that I know and see and study, and I study as many as I can. They're all trying really hard to express something,
mhm,
but it's very unexpressible, and I don't see many of them really looking for a new way to talk about it. And that's what I want to get, oh, and the whole thing about gurus when they have a whole bunch of disciples.
Hmm.
The problem is never the gurus, it's all the disciples. Because everybody's there and they're listening to each other more than they're listening to the guru.
Well, I'm trying to understand that.
So it's kind of like, how if you take a kid who did a crime and you throw him in jail, basically
Yeah,
what you do is you teach him how to be a really good criminal because now he's
yeah,
got all sorts of really
makes
good.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. So you go in there and maybe you have the best guru in the world, maybe you have the worst guru in the world, but the disciples teach each other how
Yeah,
to be asleep because if you're asleep, that's all you can do is teach sleep. If you're in ego, all you can do is teach ego. And they listen to each other more than they listen to the guru. So that's the problem with gurus. So, but keep listening to all of them because Krishnamurti, he's dead, so he's not going to come up with anything new. If he was around today, he might be saying totally different things than he was saying back then. But keep an eye on people because people are coming up with different ways of saying things. And it's going to take way more than one little brain figuring out how do we step beyond this conditioning that we need to step beyond. Does that make any sense? Whoops. I think I lost you. I bet we had a um, internet problem. So that means it's time to go. Hope people enjoyed. I don't know how to turn it off. Oh, there we go.